Good morning. My name is Reverend Dale Olansky, and I would like to welcome you to All for One. We are staff ministers at Center for Spiritual Living, Palm Desert, and we are here to have a provocative conversation today. And our beloved Reverend Cheryl will be leading us not down the rabbit holes, but how to keep our eyes on the prize when we jump down them. So I'm excited to see what comes up in conversation today. But first, we are going to pray. So I invite you just to close your eyes or soften your gaze and relax wherever you're sitting, wherever you are right now, and just join me in a breath of air. Just taking a breath in, and as we exhale, just allowing ourselves to be present to this wonderful, wonderful opportunity to share in the energy of enlightenment, of seeing life through the perspective of spirit. And so I know that everybody that is here with us today, whether it's live or whether you're seeing this on the replay, I am just knowing that something is bubbling up, something is revealing itself to be able to see with clarity something about ourselves that allows ourselves to free ourselves, to be in that understanding, that recognition of the divine action and order that is always unfolding through life, and our ability to use our minds effectively, positively, to create a harmonious, wonderful, joyful life experience. And so as I know my beloved colleagues are all ready to share what is ever to be shared this morning, to awaken us to a greater understanding of life and God and all that is good. I'm so grateful just to set the tone, to know all is well and everything is unfolding absolutely perfectly as we stand with open hearts and open minds to just be in conversation with excitement, with curiosity, and just move through this time together with whatever it is that is allowing us to see clearly and to be in the flow. And so knowing all is well, I just let go and let it be as we say together, and so it is. It's so good to be alive, isn't it? Well, I'm glad to be here with all of you. And for those of you who follow us, you know that we always start our mornings together with a question, just to get a little insight about who we are. And our question today is, what is something that manifested in your life? And when I heard that question or read it at first, I was thinking about things. I was thinking about people. And then I went a little bit deeper with it, because one of the greatest manifestations in my life is coming to the Center for Spiritual Living in Palm Desert, which was called Religious Science of the Desert when I came here in 2001. And coming into contact with a philosophy that I had been praying for a very long time was one of the greatest manifestations of my life, because this philosophy of science of mind has given me the tools to go through life with joy in my heart, with an expanded consciousness. It's a gift that continually keeps on giving to me, no matter what is showing up in my life. And it has also given me a vocation of ministry that I absolutely love being in. And so for me, I would have to say, as far as manifestations go, science of mind is right there at the top. So Reverend Gail, what say you?
Thank you, Reverend Dale. Well, what is something that is manifested as my life? Well, I would say, look around me. Everything you see, and quite frankly, everything you don't see, I have manifested. Everything. Period. End of story. I'm going to pass to Reverend Bradley.
Awesome, Reverend Gail. For me, one thing I do love, and I always remind myself of it, is the cartilage in my knees had been going less and less. And now one knee doesn't have any cartilage and one has just a really minuscule. And other than the limitation of bending one of my knees because of some extra weird growth, cyst kind of stuff in there, I haven't had any pain. And I really clear because of my prayer treatment and whether I'm called to take some kind of supplement occasionally or whatever else, it's just hasn't given me an issue. I do my squats and do my planks and bicycle ride. So I'm really thankful that clearly through prayer, when anybody who sees the x-ray says, why aren't you in pain? I said, well, I'm not. Is that okay? So that's my manifestation, and I love it. How about you, Reverend Wayne?
Yeah, Reverend Bradley, that's wonderful. And I have to agree 150% with Reverend Gail. everything I have manifested. But it's through this teaching, I learned to understand that how to direct my thoughts, to actually, instead of manifesting things just through work and that sort of stuff, but to actually say for a specific purpose, I want this to happen, and to see it unfold perfectly is something that this philosophy, this is what we teach you. This is the mind over matter, or the mind does create matter. So I love this question, and again, agree with Gail. Everything in your life is a manifestation, but our teaching teaches you how to control your thoughts, to focus your thoughts, to create something more specific if that is what you desire. So with that, I pass it off to Reverend Cheryl.
Good morning, everyone. So what's something that manifested in my life? And I had so many things that I thought, oh, that manifested, this man. And then like Gail and like Dale also, they are things that I have manifested. And that was what was so cool about it. But one thing in particular just came up the other night in the Beyond Limits class, when I'm taking that class again. Just, we have to keep up so much educational units and stuff. And I still have my old Beyond Limits notebook, where I took it the very first time in 2013 or 2012, one of the two. Anyway, one of the questions in there was, how do you see your life unfolding? What do you want to see manifested in your life? And this is what was so bizarre. I'd completely forgotten about this. I wrote down, I want to be a reverend. And I was like, when I saw that, and it was this old book, and then I look at where I am right now, it was like, wow, you manifest even, that was back right before I started practitioner training, because we didn't start until after I was taking that class, because I was waiting for enough people to have the classes completed to go ahead and go into prac training. And so I just took that class again because I hadn't had it. And so just to see that what you put out there, what you put in your mind, maybe, at the time I was like, oh yeah, that'd be kind of fun, but I just didn't see a plan. I didn't see a way, but there was that divine urge within me that just pushed me and pushed me and pushed me until here I am. This is where I'm supposed to be. And I know that, but to go back that long, let's see, 12 and now it's 21, like 9 years ago. And wow, that was just so cool for me. So our topic today, as they were talking about, was jumping down rabbit holes and keeping your eyes on the prize. Now, I went and I thought, I hear people say that, our Reverend Charles says that a lot, jumping down rabbit holes. And I thought, when I first heard it, believe it or not, I had never heard that phrase before, or that expression. And so I went and I looked it up, and it said, what does jumping down a rabbit hole mean? And it's used to referring to a situation that is strange, confusing, or illogical, and often hard to escape. So when you're like if you're having a conversation and you're talking about one thing, and then all of a sudden you jump off onto another trail, and we all know people that, they'll be telling a story. Oh, but I got to tell you this part first, or I got to, there's not a continuous straight line towards it. Well, that's kind of like how some people might perceive how prayer works. It's like oh, this is what I want to, what I desire, what I would like to see manifested in my life. But also make sure you get this, and also make sure you get that. So your prayer becomes like a cafeteria line where you're asking for a little bit of everything. But prayer needs to be direct. It needs to say exactly what you desire to manifest, not the way it manifests, not the situation, how you want it to turn out. And especially if you're praying for somebody else to change who they are in order to meet what you want them to do. So I like to think of it, jumping down a rabbit hole is getting off course. So you're getting off of the straight path and you're going down the hole. Anyway, so with prayer, you have to stay on course. And then remember this, prayers are always answered. And staying in the truth of your word and knowing prayer is always answers allows us to go past the outcome and just let it go, pass it on to Spirit, and let Spirit act. we used to say in the church when I was growing up that if you take something and you put it on the altar, in other words, if you take something and you put it in prayer, you can't go back and pick it up and take it back, because then you're just, you're just getting to that place to where you're not allowing spirit to act as spirit always does. And this universal energy is undifferentiated. Now that sounds, like God doesn't care. It's not that. It's undifferentiated in the sense that whatever you put in is what you're going to get out. And we call that seed, soil, plant. If you plant carrot seeds, you're not going to get a tomato plant, hopefully, unless, something went terribly wrong there. But you just have to remember that when you're planting the seed, you have to let go of it. You can't sit there and ruminate about, well, when's it going to show up, or how's it going to show up, or whatever. And that's the other thing. When you go into those places of doubt after you do a prayer, you're undoing it. You're undoing the prayer, because what it says, Jesus says in the Bible, it's done unto you according to your belief. So when you start doubting it, then that's going to become your belief, the belief in the doubt of anything unfolding as you desire it to. So how do you know how do you get to what you put in your prayer? How do you decide what you put in your prayer? Well, just the first thing that I would say, and not giving you the steps or anything like that. We all heard the steps, but clarity around what you desire. And sometimes you might just have to do a prayer for clarity first and then go into what you desire. So what you have to have is clarity, so you have a pure intention around what you're praying for. And then watch your thoughts after you complete your prayer and stay in sync with your intention, what you put your intention out there for. And when I'm saying that, it's like start living like it's already there. Like it's already happened. Start looking at it from that point of view. And then, that's another thing, is that sometimes when we go into prayer, we'll start talking about, well, this is how I want it. And you've heard us say that, this address, this thing. But I'm just suggesting to you to put the prayer out there for what you desire. And then just remain open-eyed and receptive, and to see how the answer unfolds. Because as you might perceive how you would like for it to unfold, just remember, the Spirit knows 100,000 millions of times better about how this should unfold in your life. And if you'll just trust and let go and let that prayer just unfold as it should. And then sometimes what I find is I'll think, oh, was that prayer, oh, I remember that prayer, was it answered? And then I look back and I think, oh my gosh, it was answered, but not in the form that I expected. So I have to let go of my driving this car. I have to let go of that, not, let go of the wheel, but I have to let go of driving the direction that Spirit's going to act in, because I have to be open and receptive to how the best and highest good is going to unfold for me in my prayer. And then just when you're doing a prayer, leave out doubt words like, maybe I hope this prayer comes true. Oh, I really want to try and make this work. Those are doubt words. You have to go into this knowing, this undefined, unexplainable knowingness that's just within you, that you just know it's going to unfold. And that's how you have to remain in that positive space, because when you go into doubt, you negate your prayer. And so I just remember when I first started doing this, I would be doing minute miracles, and somebody would ask me for a prayer, and what they were going through was really touched my heart so profoundly, and I felt for them. But then I'd come home and I'd go, well, I wonder how, oh, crud, I have to do the prayer again. I have to do that about 5 times to replace the doubt words. You learn. Once I let go, I just let go. That's it. It's done. Amen. That's all I have to say about it. But then afterwards, remain in gratitude for what you already have in your life. Remain in that place of just being so grateful for everything that is already part of your life, that you've already, as Reverend Gail said, manifested. Everything that I see around me, I manifested. And so just go into that place of gratitude and remain there. That's that is the most powerful feeling, the most powerful thing that backs up your prayer is just staying in that gratitude. So I want to open this up to the rest of the floor. So who's going to go first? I don't have time to read. Jump in there, whoever it is. Hi, William. Go for it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. I tell you what, jumping down the rabbit hole, the first thing I thought of whenever I have heard of that term, and it's in, as far as I'm concerned, it's in reference to Alice in Wonderland, going down the rabbit hole. But I love the definition that he put: strange, confusing, illogical, or no, let me back up. But that is exactly where our mind goes sometimes when we are in chaos, in that mental chaos of we don't know what to do. We then are jumping down the rabbit hole, falling deeper into that chaotic state of mind. And that's where our philosophy helps out. Dr. Joe calls it falling into the ditch. Where you're going along, something happens, and it derails you. You fall into the ditch, or, as Reverend Cheryl says, going down the rabbit hole. But just like her opening statement, it is about prayer, and it is a mindset. And I see that this day is unfolding perfectly because in this chaotic time, there is a lot of rabbit holes all over the place. It is our jobs as ministers, as practitioners of this philosophy, to be there for people who have fallen down that rabbit hole and do not see a way out. That's where our job comes into play, where we're talking about prayer and prayer work and doing ministerial work with our practitioners. We are here to help you find a way through your mental chaos inside your own head. And I encourage you to call the center. And if you are in that rabbit hole and recognize yourself as such, and you don't see a way to help uplift you or to get you out of that, I encourage you to call the center and set up an appointment with one of our practitioners as well as one of our reverends. The thought of prayers are always answered. That is absolutely true. Just with our opening question, everything that you see in my background, everything that you see in Gail's background, everything that you see in your own life is a manifestation. It is proof that your thoughts become reality. Dealing with spirit and the law, it always manifests on what you are focused on. So today, as we are exploring the rabbit hole, let's focus on uplifting thoughts. Not so much how far down the rabbit hole you or I may be, but what's the next step? Keeping our eye on the prize. What is it that you want to experience next? Don't think about where you are, project and think about where you want to be. Start walking towards that, and spirit through law will manifest and create a path that will help and guide you to reach that prize. Now, after that, I'd like to turn it over to Reverend Gail.
Wow, thank you for that insight, Reverend William. So I got really excited around this topic today because Ernest Holmes has a lot to share with us on this topic. And I'd like to share two things that kind of jumped out at me. And the first is around prayer. So Ernest Holmes' classic text, The Science of Mind, and his book, which is wonderful, called Prayer, are both a really simple introduction for anyone who wants to learn how to pray effectively. And in the book Prayer, Ernest Holmes asks, what does one do when he prays? I love that question. And his simple and very direct answer is, he talks to God. And his next question is, where does he talk to God? He talks to God in his own mind, through his own thoughts or feelings. In other words, he talks to God through all that he or she embodies. So I like to remember that Ernest Holmes drew a lot from Jesus, Emerson, and Troward, among others. So from this background, how does Ernest Holmes describe affirmative prayer? Well, very simply, he says affirmative prayer is a prayer that declares a spiritual truth. And he gives an example from the Bible, which I really love. It's just so clear. He said, when Jesus the Christ spoke the word being what we know as truth, his healing statement was declared with great power and great conviction. In other words, with great power and conviction means he embodied it, all of it. So in his example, he didn't say, oh, please God, let Lazarus be healed. He said, Lazarus, come forth. There was clarity, as Reverend Cheryl was talking about, around his desire, complete clarity. He didn't state how this should happen, right? And Lazarus come forth. He simply stated his intention and then stayed in sync with his intention. And for me, that means he kept his eye on the prize. Reverend Dale, what do you have to add to this?
Thank you, Reverend Gail. That was great. Ernest Holmes wrote so many cool books. I'm glad you brought that one up about prayer. Well, I want to take this in a different direction now, because I think there's a step for us to acknowledge in our expansion and in our coming out of places such as rabbit holes. And this is awareness of our consciousness and awareness of ourselves and what we're experiencing. Because I know for myself especially, and other people, we might grow up in such a family or such a way or with such conditions where rabbit holes or chaos become our normal way of being in life. And it's really important as we expand our spirituality and our desire to really move beyond the world that we've been living in to create a better reality, and doing this as we do through consciousness and through prayer and self-discovery. I think it's so important for us to have mindfulness when we get into the rabbit hole, and to realize that we are in a rabbit hole. And do we constantly, or I'm going to put it this way, have we built a condo in the rabbit hole? I came across something really interesting. I'm reading a book by Adyashanti, who is he's like a Zen Buddhist monk, and he's absolutely fascinating. And he's telling this story about as a child, he thought adults were so insane because they believed what they were thinking. They believed all their thoughts that they were having. He thought that was crazy. How can people believe in all these things that they're thinking, when he saw a greater reality? He saw life as being more organic, and that he was under the awareness of the divine and the curiosity of it all. And so I think for us, when we're in a rabbit hole, to be able, and like Reverend Cheryl said, to keep your eye on the prize by realizing that that a rabbit hole is just a state of consciousness, and you can change that at any moment. And we do that through prayer, by knowing a different reality for ourselves through the steps of prayer, and going to that place where there is no rabbit hole, where there is only creative divine energy everywhere present, and using that energy that is everything that we are to create a reality that is resonant with us, that is something that we truly desire to live into. And I guess, so what I'm trying to say is that awareness is always our first place to go to when changing our consciousness, which changes our lives. And we spoke to that. I love that. The first question about manifesting, our consciousness manifests. That's what we teach in Science of Mind. So if you don't like what you're manifesting, you go to your consciousness. And that's where the work takes place to make a change in mind, which changes your reality. So I think I'm going to pass it off now to, it looks like Reverend Cheryl. Back to Reverend Cheryl or Reverend Brad. I don't know. You guys duke it out.
I was asking if Reverend Brad would like to go, but I'll go ahead. It's okay. When you think about also staying away from visualizing what the outcome is, and I mean, not visualizing it, but you can visualize how you would like for it to show up in your life. But sometimes if you just let go, you'll see things just start appearing and the outcome is not anything at all like you imagined it, but it still shows up. And that's the one thing that I think is so important about keeping your eye on the prize is not, you don't even know what the prize looks like. So that's when you have to leave your heart open and receptive to what's coming forth and what's coming back to you. But when you build those doubts and build those blocks, that's what keeps you from growing. Because for me, it's always, when I look at my growth, my spiritual growth, when things start like popping up in my life and I was like, where's that coming from? Where's this coming from? I just think about it as this way, that I must be getting ready for a really big growth cycle, because all of these things that really are situations or experiences or people that are popping up that, you didn't expect. And it's like, it's time for some growth. There's something around this needs to be cleaned up. So often when you put the prayer out there, you'll think, whoa, why is everything suddenly coming at me? But I just think of it as a way of cleaning out your consciousness and cleaning out your closets to make room for more good things to come in. And so you have to just stay in that place and see that instead of looking at it as like, well, that's not what I wanted. This is not my prayer. This is not how it's supposed to show up. But I realize that other things are popping up in my life, and it's just preparing. It's doing the groundwork for this new and better thing to appear in my life. And so that's how I get through those things that doesn't appear to be, what I wanted or what I desired or anything like that. I just have to realize that sometimes other things have to be cleaned out before you can get to the point to where the new can come in. So I think that after this, I guess it's Reverend Gail. Yes.
Yes, thank you, Reverend Cheryl. I'm going to jump in. So for me, the rabbit hole represents what I don't want, and the prize represents what I do want. So keeping your eye on the prize is a really valuable statement, because for me, this means always embodying what you want. Embody what you are for instead of what you don't want or what you are against. And that's living life as continuous prayer. So one of my favorite quotes, and truly one of my guiding lights, is spoken by Ernest Holmes, and it's from the final Sermon by the Sea. And he says this: "Find me one person who is for something and against nothing, who is redeemed enough not to condemn others out of the burden of his soul, and I will find another Savior, another Jesus, and an exalted human being." So this statement creates a really big goal for me. I try to embody being for something and against nothing. I try. Being against something, for me, is jumping down the rabbit hole. That's what I have to remember. And being for something is keeping my eye on the prize. So let's see, who wants to jump in after me? Okay.
Oh, Reverend Gail. Awesome. So one question that came up from the audience was, I'm going to paraphrase their 3-sentence thing. It's been mentioned where to be positive and to have it in consciousness. And they wanted to know, how do I do that? So I'll respond first is, it can be challenging when you have all this stuff going on and it's hard to do anything, right? Even get to the point of, I'm clear what I don't want, what do I do want? So let's do 2 easy ways. One is always sitting in the silence is always better than not sitting in the silence, period. So that can be a breath. And also in that space, whether during that time or when your eyes are open and you're clear what you don't want, you can think of what the opposite of that is. That's an angry person. I want a peaceful person. That's this much money. Opposite is I want more money. There's this situation. What's the opposite of that situation that I want? And that's where we can go back to I love the sub phrase of our topic today. Keep your eyes on the prize, because that's your new prize. You are focused on, oh, I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that. What's the opposite of what I don't want? I may have to think about it. I may have to spend time with it. I may have to talk to somebody saying, I'm clear what I don't want. It's harassing my head, and I'm letting it harass my mind and my consciousness all day long. I don't want this. Can you help me get a little clear what's the opposite of that? Then you have something to grab a hold of in that prize and focus and prayer and journal and meditate and have fun on that. So anybody else want to share of when you have someone ask you, how do I just be positive, which a lot of teachers in the world say, or build consciousness? How about you, Reverend Dale?
I always go to gratitude. Simple. To just say be positive, the best way to find the positive for me is find 5 things in your life you're grateful for, and that's a shifter. It shifts your energy, and you realize that, oh, things aren't so bad because I've got this, I've got this, I've got this. So to me, that's a real instantaneous consciousness changer. Anyone else?
I will. I just, instead of when I'm looking at something I want, I try to wake up every day in gratitude, just remain there, and people laugh, and I say this a lot. I said it during my talk when I was doing my ministerial talk. I said, I wake up every morning grateful for my sheets. I'm grateful for my bed. And it sounds really, very kind of frivolous, but when I think about it, I am grateful for all of those little things that make my life more comfortable and make me I wake up refreshed every day and ready to take on the world. And so just that little bit of, I'm so grateful for my sheets. It starts me off on the right path during the day. But sometimes it's not easy, especially when you think that there's something that's so large, it's just got your face, you're blocked like that when you stop and you step back, just like Reverend Dale says, when you stop and you step back into gratitude and you see how really great, wonderful, and beautiful your life is, then all of that stuff about what is sitting out there just kind of dissipates because you just stay in that gratitude and knowing. So anybody else want to address that question? I guess not. Okay, so I guess it's going to Reverend William.
Yeah, I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head with that. But getting back to our subject, and I'm going to flip the switch a little bit because just like in our English language, you talk about something being bad. Well, bad is something negative. But depending upon your context, bad could be good. Here we are talking about the rabbit hole and being something negative. Now, I am an artist. I create, and honestly, I think that everybody is an artist, depending upon what you're doing. Everything that anybody does is an art form. But I also look at the rabbit hole as, just like in Alice in Wonderland, the wonderment. I'm getting outside of myself and what I know is my little box, and I'm opening up my mind to something more than. So then I'm going into the wonderland of infinite possibilities. I like that, the wonderland of infinite possibilities. Wait a minute, I gotta write that down. That's exactly what we're talking about. Flipping the switch on the rabbit hole, keeping your eye on the prize, allowing yourself to go into that free fall, like Tom Petty talks about. Free falling. Allow yourself to be into that wonderment, knowing that you are supported by Spirit in every aspect, at every moment of your life. Spirit is always there, willing to say yes. Your thoughts, your prize, your thoughts are always answered with yes. So not only can the rabbit hole be something that you want to get out of, that ditch, but also know that the rabbit hole can be a place where that new idea, that new adventure comes from. Everything is a state of mind. And I think that's what every one of us here are talking about today. It is your state of mind. What you think about yourself, what you think about life, what you think about others. The law always says yes. So keep your eye on the prize, your mind, your mental aptitude on gratitude, being of thanks, being of service, keeping those positive thoughts, going for that brass ring of what you desire, what you want to experience is definitely within your grasp. So it's your own consciousness of what that rabbit hole means for you, because some days the rabbit hole is the ditch. But most of my life, the rabbit hole is a place where new opportunities come into my life. And I'd like to see what else my fellow reverends have to say about that.
Well, what would a Wednesday be without a story of transparency from me? So, because I recently took a dive into the rabbit hole, and I'll just let you know, one of my beloved little kitties has an illness, and she's probably going to be making her transition in the near future. And I went straight in the rabbit hole, and I was okay with that because I love her dearly, and I don't want to let go of her. And I honored my human in it, and I allowed myself just to go where I needed to go. And I reached out for prayer because I knew I needed to have people praying for me, because I was in a space of dark. And after a few days of that, I realized that I had built a wall around myself, and I was not seeing light anywhere. And I had enough of the dark rabbit hole, and I was ready to take a step out. And the prize for me was just to feel a little bit better. The prize for me was to have a greater understanding of the eternality of life. And it was just a lot of spiritual truth that was and that continues to be my prize. And that's why I want to kind of thread into what is a prize for us, because a prize can be something huge, or it can be something just as small, which isn't really small at all, but just something as small as, I just want to feel a little bit better. That's a prize to me. And so for me, in my recent experience, I will tell you, I'm out of the rabbit hole now. I'm still very, I still have emotions coming up, but I'm not living in the hole anymore, because I've had a lot of realizations about life that the rabbit hole taught me about. It taught me that everything isn't dark. It taught me that the rabbit hole is simply a transitory experience, and I might sit in the hole for a minute and get out, because I have the ability to do so, because I go to a place of spiritual truth. And that always reminds me what's going on in this world, which is life is continually expanding and evolving from visible to invisible, and all is well. And that's my prize. And I'm so grateful that I found it. And now I'm walking in a much more peaceful place. Who would like to follow?
That's an interesting concept, because, and first of all, Reverend Dale, you are in our prayers, because we know this is a painful time. And, but it's an interesting thing too, to think about the rabbit hole as being a place where you can come up with new and creative ideas if you're in that dark space, which, sometimes it's not so much it's a dark space, it's just that you're experiencing something that's changing your outlook, or it has the potential to become, a lifelong thought, like you're going to stay depressed or stay sad about something for your lifetime, that you can't just walk on through it. And especially with Reverend Gail, working with her and her grief groups and her grief counseling and all the things that I've learned from her really has made me aware of that, extremely aware, that how important it is to walk through the process of grief as grief is walking through you. There's a great article that was written by Elizabeth Gilbert that just addresses that. But sometimes just stepping back into the darkness, it's not so much that you're going back there. It's just to allow you to examine what you're feeling and just know that it's okay to feel this way in this moment, but you can't live there. You have to just keep moving forward. You should feel what you feel. I mean, that's expressing God. Everything that we feel, every emotion is expressing God. So it's, sometimes you just have to step back, and maybe you are in that place of darkness, but it's time to, like Reverend Dale so beautifully said, it's time to jump out of the rabbit hole instead of jumping in it. So anybody else would like to go? Oh, I see that Reverend Gail will go next.
Thank you, Reverend Cheryl. So for me, what I'm for is the prize. And a synonym for me of what I'm for is affirmative prayer. And affirmative prayer for me is the most powerful method for setting the creative process into motion. And I love what Ernest Holmes says about affirmative prayer. He says exactly what Reverend Cheryl introduced this topic with. He said it is a direct, focused, and organized method to get your desired outcome. What I'm for, right? Or the prize. Direct, focused, and organized for me is just another way of saying, keep your eye on the prize. So specifically, Ernest Holmes said that affirmative prayer is a recognition of Spirit's allness, of the Spirit's nature as all powerful, as all knowing, and as everywhere present. So given this definition, what in affirmative prayer do we want to embody in our beliefs, our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, and our actions? Well, the answer is contained in step 3 of our affirmative prayer, which we call the realization step. So you want to realize the qualities or attributes of God, which you embrace within yourself. What you call forth in your awareness. These are the divine qualities that are inherent within you, which you want to become more conscious of, as Reverend Dale said, and embody. So for me, to realize also means to make real. And these qualities, these divine qualities, are the prize. They are the qualities that are truly real. So who wants to jump in next? Reverend Bradley, do we have any comments from our audience?
Feel free to share your thoughts and comments and questions and be part of the discussion. Oh, that's what we tell them to do. No. Oh, yep. Everybody can read Marie's. Thanks, Marie, for joining us.
Marie, we will absolutely step up and pray for you, all of us, and that prayer will give you strength. Thank you for reaching out to us.
Yes, Marie, we'll send your prayer out to our prayer ministry right away. As soon as our show is done, I will send that out and you will be lifted in prayer.
Maybe
Currently,
I can encourage the person who's closing us out today can include Marie and our listeners in specifically in our closing prayer.
absolutely. So, my fellow ministers, does anyone have any closing comments on our topic today?
I do.
Reverend Cheryl.
I just, we talk about, affirmative prayer and all of these different ways of keeping ourselves in alignment. But just remember, to go to that place, you just have to have that calmness. So I would suggest that if you're in a place where you're in the rabbit hole, just think about meditating a little bit, just for just long enough to realize that, feel the power and the strength of the universe that is surrounding you. And sometimes what I have to do when I'm in gratitude and I'm doing all the steps, but then I have to remember always that I am immersed in the love of God, always. No matter how it's appearing, whatever is appearing in my life that I have manifested, I am still immersed in that love. And that just brings me up. That's what, I never feel alone, because I no longer ever feel alone. Even if I'm by myself for days with COVID, it's happened that way. But I've always just feel that surrounding me, that immersion and that just perfect love. So sometimes if you're in the rabbit hole, just remember that you are so loved and so desired by Spirit here to manifest and express Spirit. Just remember that you are loved always. So that's my final comment. Anyone else?
I just want to say, if you're in a rabbit hole, please reach out to us, because I just, from knowing the experiences of a rabbit hole throughout my entire life, and my beloved colleagues know as well, you don't have to sit in that rabbit hole all by yourself. Allow us to give you a lift out. That's what we do. We love to do that. And prayer is, as we've spoken to, prayer is a great lift up into seeing life a little bit differently. So we're here. I think we've already mentioned, you can find us on our website. Just give the office a call as well, and we'll connect with you.
Wonderful. Well, if we don't have any more closing comments, and I'm just checking in first to see, looks like we're complete. As we transition into our close today, I want to invite you to join us every day at 10 a.m. for a rich and diverse opportunity for growth through our expanded and expanding programming. So go to our website at www.cslpalmdesert.org and review our banner for details on each day's offerings. In addition to 10 a.m., I want to emphasize that our annual business meeting will be held this year on Wednesday, March 10th at 4 p.m. in that specific standard time. We have to go about things a little bit differently this year, so please go online and follow the directions to register. So I'm excited to share with you that on Tuesday, this upcoming Tuesday, February 23rd, we'll be offering another restorative intention circle at 6:30 p.m. Reverend Dale will be facilitating. Please visit our website for more details, for the Zoom link, and consider giving it a try. Reverend Dale, would you like to add an announcement?
I have one announcement. Thank you, Reverend Gail. The monthly Spirit of Women group meets this Sunday, the 21st at 12:30 p.m. via Zoom. And I want to invite any women out there who want to join in spiritual community to join us. We have a fun time. We just started, and people are loving what we did. I've got a guest speaker, Barbara Lippert, who is a member of our center. She is a psychic medium, and she's going to be talking about what's coming up right now for us energetically. And I think she's also going to do some readings for a couple of women in the group. So please join us, and you can find the link is on the banner page on the website. You can just come on in and join us. It's really lovely. And that's it for me.
Thanks, Reverend Dale. And Reverend William, I think you've got something exciting coming up.
Yes, I do. Excellent. Thank you so very much. This coming Tuesday at 10 a.m., I'm having my show, and it's based on the book by Gary Keller called The One Thing. And I think that today's topic, the rabbit hole and keeping your eye on the prize, is a great segue and a precursor to this coming Tuesday. The One Thing is talking about what it is you want to experience, what it is that draws interest, how you want your life to unfold. And we will be talking about this book and where you are in the rabbit hole today, whether it's in a state of confusion, uncertainty, or if it's from the state of wonderment and great expectancy. Please join me this Tuesday morning to go over this book again, called The One Thing by Gary Keller. I look forward to seeing you, and we're going to have a great time. Thank you very much. All right, Reverend Gail.
Reverend William, that sounds really interesting. I absolutely love that book. So please join Reverend William at 10 o'clock on Tuesday. So I am so glad that you're here today enjoying this program. And I want you to know that there are a number of ways to support our programs financially. The easiest way is just to go to our website at cslpalmdesert.org and click on the Donate menu item, and you'll be taken to our donation portal. If you're watching us on Facebook, you can notice that there's a donate button on our Facebook page, and it's secure. Some of our members enjoy the feeling of writing out a check, and you can always send a check to our physical address, or you can call the office to donate by credit card. If you're moved today to donate in support of our programming, we thank you, and we appreciate your donation. So as we now close this space and this time together, please join me in our benediction. As I close this amazing heart space, this amazing, amazing heart space where I feel such deep, deep gratitude. I am so very grateful for today's gift of connection. I'm so thankful for the ageless, timeless, infinite, and ever-giving spiritual energy that has immersed every moment of this time together. And I am grateful for the ever-giving spiritual energy and love that is immersing our friend Marie right here and right now. I now bless each friend forward in light, in peace, and in love, knowing the vibrant energy of the universe guides, guards, and protects as each person here, and knowing that all is well. Please join me in saying, and so it is.